everybody, and welcome to the Board Game Batcave's review of the top 100 Board Game Geek games of all time. This week, we are at number 20 with Seven Wonders, which is right there. And we're going to review it in our traditional 4 categories of components, theme, gameplay, and replayability. And we'll start off by introducing ourselves. I'm Chris.
Hey everybody, the OGG back again with you. Good to see you. I'm Mike.
Gil.
And let's start out with something out of the ordinary by having you do components.
Because we never do that. The reason they let me go first is because I'll bring up points just so they can tear them down. Don't think
The real reason is because he takes so long that we have to cram in our reviews whatever time is left.
Components. Nothing you haven't seen before, but it's done really well. And it's done in a cool way, too. It's basically going to be a civilization-light resource management, building monuments thing, building up your civilization. But the way they do the cards, the way they interlock, the way that you use them and everything, the other resources and stuff, the different elements of the game, I dig. It was really well done. Nothing out of the ordinary, but it looked good. Good quality material and everything. And like I said, nothing that just sticks out of my head thinking, wow, I've never seen this before. They give you what you need, and it looks good doing it. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually going to go, I'm going to go 7.5 on this, Yeah. If they would have done something revolutionary, I would have jacked it up higher. Sure. But it was definitely a lot better than some games I've seen, and not overly complicated either.
All right.
Yeah, I was surprised because for the longest time when I'd see this game advertised or on the shelf or whatever, I was under the impression it was a board game,
No.
But it's just cards and little chits and stuff. So I was kind of shocked when I actually played it, and I'm like, "Where's the board?
Yeah.
Where's the pieces or whatever?" But that didn't change my opinion of it. It just shocked me a little bit because it's such a big box. But the component, the artwork, I really liked. I mean, it wasn't my favorite, but it was better than normal, better than average, I guess. It was quite well done, and I'll get to that in gameplay later. But for components itself, I'm gonna give it a 8 because I usually start at 7.5 for card games.
Yeah.
And I think I'm gonna bump it up a little bit for that artwork, which is a little slightly better than normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think the components on this is essentially a deck, card game. It's a deck of cards, and you're passing them around, and then you've got your little board that sort of helps you keep things straight and gives you your wonder. But there's not a lot of components to this. But what you do get, I really liked it. I like the artwork on there. It really fits. It has that classical look to it that you'd expect with the Seven Wonders, and the cards look really nice, and the way that they stack or interlock in as you're playing the game, I think really works well. And it's it just, even though there's not a rigid way to do it, everybody's civilization or game space can look different. You're just sort of laying cards out and that sort of stuff, but it really works well. And I like the components that come with it, and the artwork is really nice on these, I think. So for me, for what little they had to work with, I think they did a great job, and I'm going to give it an 8.
All right, so theme would be the next thing.
Theme. I enjoy resource management games. I don't like the ones, especially some we've talked about in the past before, that are extended huge amounts of time or whatever. I like my,
You like bite-sized portions.
This hit just about in my butter zone right here. 45 minutes to a game, or 35.
Yeah.
Whenever you get it down, it is not a long game. But maybe it seems a little bit longer. There's a lot of detail you go into whenever you're doing that or whatever. But I appreciate this type of game, and I really appreciate it whenever it's in a small enough dose that I enjoy playing for that amount of time. I don't lose interest or whatever. You know, if I've screwed something up, if it's looking like I'm going to tank this one, I've got to suck it up for another 15, 20 minutes at the most, probably. And then I got another shot to you know, have a winning whatever game plan or whatever.
But what about theme?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
I'm not talking about the genre of the resource management and stuff like that. So, you know, it's nothing special, but I do enjoy this kind of game sometimes, and this is one of those particular times when I enjoy this genre of game. So, I'm going to go 8. I was getting to my point. Sometimes I go way off track, but
Had to rope him in. I love this theme. One of my favorite video games of all time is Civilization, and I've probably logged more hours solo for that game than any other game. And for me, it's the opposite. On a Civilization game, I like more time because I feel like it spans the ages and, you know, discoveries and all that stuff. But the theme it's hard to bring out a theme like this in cards, but I think they did a decent job of it.
Yeah.
And I will probably settle somewhere around in that 7.5 area, because without little miniature pieces and everything, it's really hard to pull that theme out when you're building civilizations over. And that was one of the beauties of the video game, is that your little village turns into a town, turns into a city, turns into a megalopolis thing. And so you could see the changes rather than just, you know, on cards. It's hard to do that. So I'll stick with the 7.5 for theme, even though I do like the theme.
Yeah, I like that theme also, and similar to what Chris had mentioned in the first go around there, the first time I got to finally play the game, it's been out there for a little while, it's been highly rated for a very long time. It's just something that, for whatever reason, another game would always beat it out to get the attention, and we'd play that, you know. So when I finally got around to playing the Seven Wonders, I was surprised of the style of game it is. I was assuming it was going to be like Civilization and Age of Empires and stuff like that. And that theme is still there, but it turns out it's just a card game, or passing cards around the table and building your civilization that way. So it's a theme that I like, but at the same time it sort of surprised me the way they went about bringing it to the table. But I think it really works well, and I liked it. And I've had a chance to play several of the different wonders, and I don't know that any one of them bring that much more to the game than the other. But it is nice that you have a little bit of a random thing to it. You randomly get assigned one of the 7 wonders at the start of the game. So I think the theme fits just fine, but I don't think it's anything crazy over the top either. So for me, that comes in at a nice even 7.5.
All right, so let's head into gameplay.
Usually I don't like games with high learning curves. This one did not have that. I think the first night we played 3 games. The first game took about 45 minutes. The 2 after that took 30 or 35. The gameplay is really easy to grasp, you know. A lot of it is just icons, right. You know, images and stuff like that, or different colors of cards. So they went a simple route, which is what I wish they would do with a lot of other games.
Sure.
You know, they made this really pretty simple to understand and to play, and it worked well and everything. Gameplay especially, I don't think I went the same route to try to win in any of the games I've played yet. You know, maybe I would have certain elements from a previous game, but I would try to go a different route. I would try to, some games I had a stronger army. Mm-hmm. Some games I was trying to build my monument real quick and then play minor stuff after that. Sometimes you didn't build that monument to the very end of the round, or of the 3 rounds, you know. Yeah. There's a lot of different ways to go about it, and the gameplay itself to go about that way is it's fairly simple, and it's enjoyable, and it goes by quickly. but it's interesting and fun for me to play. So gameplay is probably my highest element of this, and I'm gonna go an 8.5 on gameplay. Nothing I haven't seen before, but really well done and concise, fun to play, and fairly quick to play.
Yeah, and this game is very different from like Imperial Settlers, which is a card game, which I kind of thought when I started playing the game it was going to be like, but it wasn't. And I think the gameplay is a high point of it. It's very intricate, so that there's a lot of different ways to win, and there's a lot of different things that can happen based on what cards you get. The downside of that is that it's not a huge learning curve, but I think that there's definitely an advantage for someone who's played it a lot more, because they know what cards could come up, and they know, kind of like, well, I know when I get this card, I can get these two cards that might come up later. So I think there's not necessarily a learning curve, but once you've already gotten to the top of your learning, you have an advantage maybe over some first-time people who play the game, which, as long as you can catch up within a relative short amount of time, it's not a big deal. But overall, for a card game, it's I'd say it's about an 8.5 for me, because it's pretty complicated for a card game, but it's not so complicated that you want to throw your cards down and say, let's play something else.
Yeah, I think it's, I don't know if this is an oxymoron or not. I think it's complicated, but yet it's simple at the same time. It's you're passing decks of cards, and you're gonna keep one, and you're gonna pass on the rest of them. So the idea of it is really simple, but then what that one card means and what it can do, that's where the complexity opens up, because you need a wide variety of resources available to you. You also need to keep an eye on your armies. You can gain some big points through science if you get lucky enough to follow that path. So to me, the gameplay is a lot of fun, and it's pretty quick. You take a card and you pass the deck, and then you're receiving a new deck, and you're thumbing through those and picking a card. You're trying to keep a loose idea of your overall strategy, but then trying to be flexible enough to see what the cards are bringing to you. Trying to not let the neighbor that you're going to pass the cards to just run away with something, so you're trying to keep that in mind too. So to me, it's the perfect game that goes quick, but it keeps you really engaged the whole time. And I've enjoyed it every time I've played it so far. For me, this is a 9. This is a lot of fun game.
Replayability.
I guess I've played this game 4 or 5 times now, and I've enjoyed it every time. It goes by quick enough where somebody could say, we've got 45 minutes to an hour, do you want to play a game? And I would probably suggest yes. I enjoy the theme of it, especially for this time span. And it's got certain strategy elements that I feel like I've learned in the past that I want to see if they work in the future. And if the cards don't support me or whatever, then I can just see, I'll try to come up with a new strategy or whatever. It's one of those games, it's always changing for me, because I'm going to go about trying to win in different ways every time, probably. I don't have a set thing that I'm going to try to do every game.
I think your cards dictate kind of what
they
path
do.
you're going to
They do
go down
at the beginning. So actually, replayability, I would suggest we play this game after these reviews tonight, actually. So I'm going to go replayability for me on this is pretty high. I would say
strong right there. Yeah.
I would say 8.5 to 9, but I'm going to nail it down to, I'm going to go 8.5.
Oh, just backed off that
Backed
throttle
off.
just a touch.
But it's definitely a game I foresee playing in the future, and I will enjoy playing it in the future.
Maybe
so.
in the next few minutes.
Yeah, probably.
replayability for me is maybe not that it's not that maybe I just need to play a few more hands of it before I can make a final decision. But from what I know of it, I've only played it a couple of times, and I think I'm gonna have to come in at an 8, because for a casual game it doesn't fit, because it's a little bit it's thinky. I mean, you gotta keep a lot of things going in your head while you're playing it. So it's not as casual as like a love letter or something else. It's like pull out cards and play for 15, 20 minutes. But yet it's not so complicated as to be a 6-hour game.
Yeah.
So, so for as that affects replayability is that I'm usually at one end or the other. I'm either got a lot of time to play and I want to play something big, or I don't have very long to play and let's play a bunch of quick games. So it's probably going to come in about 8 for me in replayability, because it's enjoyable when you do get it out, but it's not what I think of right away because it's a little bit more complicated.
Well, I agree with a lot of that. I was actually going to say that one of the beauties of it is that you could bring it out with game newbies, because to me I didn't feel like it was that complex, but I guess it could be. And actually, you know, the first round of the first game I played, I was trying to make it a lot more complex than it was. I was trying to make all those symbols mean a lot more than they really did, and you know, I felt like really all I have to do is lay this card down and then pass the rest of them over. So I was trying to make it more than it really is. But for me, I think this game has really high replayability because, in my opinion, it hits a lot of categories. You can play it from 2 to 7 players, so just a couple of people up to a pretty big table. It plays pretty quickly. So, you know, if you've just got a few minutes, or if you want to play a little tournament of it, you could play several rounds of it in a short period of time. It doesn't take very long at all to set up, because components are pretty minimal, and it doesn't take very long to explain. It definitely takes longer to grasp it, you know, to kind of master it, so to speak. In that sense, to me, it's a lot like Libertalia. Libertalia is a lot of fun and it's easy to teach someone how to play, but there's definitely an advantage to have played it several, you know, knowing what cards are better to play early than later and that sort of thing. And in Seven Wonders, in that first age, you really want to try to get your resources locked down, because the resources become a little bit thinner in the second age, and then by the third age, there really are no resources to be had. At that point, you better have what you need available. And that's when you start trying to get your guilds going and that kind of stuff. So, and you might not, you don't really realize that the first time you play it. So yeah, there is a little learning curve in there, but to me, once you're past that, I think it makes you want to play the game even more, which leads into its replayability. So I think this gets a really high score for replayability for me, and that high score is going to be a 9.25.
Ooh, nice. Has that even been invented yet?
Yeah, I think that's the first ever. There you go.
All right, so there you have it. What we think of the game, Seven Wonders, and we'll put our average right here. We'll put the BGG's average over here, and then we'll put what rank it is maybe over there. I don't know.
That's what we
Something
did.
over there.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, and thanks for watching our review of Seven Wonders, the number 20 game on the BGG top games of all time. And if you'll stick around in the credits, we'll go ahead and show you all the top 100 games we've reviewed so far. And until next time, thanks for watching.
See ya.